to. All right. Excited to be with you guys today. My name is Jason Astwood. I'm a federally licensed IRS enrolled agent. And today we're going to talk about something that I feel that it's important to talk about because a lot of small business owners end up paying more taxes than necessary because they don't understand this particular topic. We're going to talk about when you should consider becoming an S corporation. So we're going to go into details here, when is necessary. For those who don't know me, I am the author of the S corporation playbook. This is a how-to guide, how to become an S Corp. When do you need to actually execute and become an S Corp? And all the steps necessary after you decide to become an S Corp. To those individuals who want to become an S corporation, you have until the 15th of this month to elect to become an S Corp, which is so March 15 is the deadline. Actually, it will be the 16th this year because I think the 15th is actually on a Sunday. So I have until the 16th of March of 2026. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so let me pull up some information here. All right, so let's look at a couple of things here. We're going to talk about LLC versus the S corporation. This is based on an article that I wrote. It's actually on my website, and I think I actually posted this on LinkedIn, but it's LLC versus the S corporation calculator. It's called the 80,000 profit tipping point. So when is an LLC no longer the best solution or option for your business? When I mean LLC, I mean by you a single member LLC holder, which means that you report the income that you generate from that LLC on your Schedule C inside your 1040, right? When you do your taxes. When is this actually not a good idea? And when is it necessary for you to make the switch? Yeah. In the article, I talk about the tipping point happens at $80,000 in profits. What I mean by that, the main problem is this. Once you make a certain amount of money, and when I mean I'm not talking about the gross income generated by your business, I mean your net profits. So let's say you are an individual, you own an LLC, perhaps you're operating as a sole proprietor, and you are now having profits that are coming your way. After all your expenses, you have profits, right? So for example, as a single member LLC holder or as a sole proprietor, you are subject to paying 15.3% of what's called self-employment taxes on your profit, on 100% of your profits. This is on top of your income tax. So for example, if you have a profit of $100,000, your self-employment tax is going to be $15,300 plus your income tax. So this becomes a major stumbling point to many small business owners because they don't understand this particular strategy. Now, why and when should you consider becoming an S Corp? My recommendation is if you're generating between $60,000 to $80,000 of profits in your business, then that is when you want to execute and become an S corporation. Because you're going to be taxed heavily on your profits, right? And you're going to pay self-employment tax 15.3% on top of the income tax based on your tax bracket. Okay. An S corporation would allow you to split your income in two different buckets. One is you have to have a reasonable salary, meaning that you're going to have to be issued by your company a W-2, which is subject to the 15.3% of what we know as FICA taxes. People get charged the 15.3% when they're self-employed because it's the same tax. The government wants that money. And because now you are the owner of your own company, you are subject to paying 100% of that 15.3%. When you work for someone, your employer pays 50% of those taxes, which is why it definitely feels higher, right? When you are self-employed. Okay. So again, going back. So the S corporation has a lot of advantages because your income is going to be split in two different buckets. Number one, you're going to get a salary through a W-2. You're going to have to, determine what is your reasonable compensation. And then you're going to have distributions, which is exempt from the 15.3% tax, payroll taxes. So let's do the math, for example. Okay, I have it written down here, so I'm going to read from here. So for example, if you elect to become an S Corp, let's say out of those $100,000 in profits, you're going to pay yourself a reasonable salary of $60,000. So that means that out of the $60,000, again, you're paying that 15.3% on the $60,000 salary. You're going to pay $9,100 in taxes. Now, you're going to pay 0% of employment tax on the remaining money, which is the remaining $40,000, which is the distribution. So you're going to save $6,120 per year if you continue with this particular strategy moving forward. So basically, if your business is moving into that trajectory of generating 6 figures in profits, then the best strategy is going to be for you to become an S-corporation, because you're going to save tons and tons and tons of money on taxes. I haven't mentioned this in this because in this particular podcast or conversation that we're having, that there's a lot of more things that you can deduct, right? A lot of more things with your S corporation. One of the things that you can do is you can have your corporation, your S corporation, pay the health insurance premiums that you're paying. You can have your company deduct that. It becomes deductible from your top line. That's one thing. There's a lot of more things that you can do with it. You can hire your children. But I know that that's a strategy that we hear a lot, but you really want to make sure that you hire them properly. I talk about that in my book. That way you have clean paper trails that IRS comes back that you can prove that your kids were actually working for you. And so there's hundreds of strategies that could be implemented if once you have an S corporation. But the key is becoming educated on this topic. One of the ways that you could do this is by grabbing my book, the S Corporation Playbook, because there are a lot of CPAs out there that do not understand this topic, because their primary purpose is simply to prepare taxes. They're not strategists. But in my book, you could become an expert on this particular topic. Okay. That's one way. The other thing you can do is, hire somebody who is an expert in this area. As I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, is that I am a federally licensed IRS enrolled agent. I am a fractional CFO and a tax strategist, and I've been working with businesses for the last 20 years, helping real people with real problems, with real businesses, get organized, increase their wealth, and reduce their taxes. Because that's really the bottom line. You want it. You're working so hard in this business, right? Why? Well, because you want to increase your wealth, right? And you don't want to be paying, crazy amount of money in taxes. And what I found over the years is that a lot of entrepreneurs, they get kind of lost in their business a lot of times. They get disorganized. It is okay. You need to ask for help, and you need to find the right person. And if you don't feel that your advisor is really helping you, it is okay to get a second opinion. You might need to break up with your tax person, your CPA, if you don't feel that you're getting the value that you need. So again, Jason Astwood with the Union National Tax. The S corporation is definitely a strategy that can help you save substantially on your taxes, but you have to understand what are the consequences of you becoming an S corp, because now you're going to have clean books. So you need to have a solid bookkeeping team that's going to help you make sure that the books are organized. You need payroll as well, whether you need it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly. Payroll has to be paid to you as a main shareholder. So that's very important. So you have to have certain things that are necessary during the year to remain compliant with the IRS, so that you don't break the corporate veil that protects you. So we're going to talk about this topic. There's a lot of things we can talk about, but I just wanted to focus on this particular topic on, what are the potential savings that you can have by making a switch. Again, if you want to make that switch, you have until the 15th of March, typically. If the 15th of March is on a Sunday or Saturday, the IRS will usually extend it to the following Monday. So this year is the 16th. So make sure you put that in your calendar. Another reminder, if you are a business owner and you own an S corporation, or you are the owner of a partnership, and you have to fill out either the 1120S or the 1065s, you have until the 16th of March of 2026 to file. If you don't have time to file, you need to file an extension. The beauty of those type of entities is that they're pass-through entities, which means that you don't pay taxes on the LLC level. So that's the beauty. All right. So that's it for today. Stay smart. Okay. See you.